Welcome to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple, with Rachael Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket, thanks to titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk and gold sponsor Podium.
Whispering Loudly is the Workshop Whisperer podcast. Hi, I'm producer Mel, and I'm here with Rachael Evans and Ed Tapley. Ed Tapley is the Regional Sales Director of all things automotive at Podium Australia, the interaction management platform that makes it easy for your customers to communicate with your business. He's passionate about helping auto repair shop businesses take their businesses to the next level through modern technology and sales practices that can give your business an advantage over competition. Thank you so much for joining us, Ed.
It's a pleasure once again to be on Whispering Loudly. Rachael and Mel, thanks for having me today.
Ed, thank you. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and the role that you play at Podium.
Look, I look after, as you said, Mel, all things sales. So if you're a workshop owner wanting to better the way you do things in your workshop, grow your business, make things just that little bit easier on yourself, having the systems and processes in place to make sure your workshop runs like a well-oiled machine, then at some point, if you come across Podium, you may speak to either myself or one of my my lovely team. Yeah, I'm pretty much here to help workshops take their digital customer experience and to the next level and get it just running like a well-oiled machine.
Perfect. It's exactly along the same lines as the message that we have here at the Workshop Whisperer as well. So we're on the same page. Now, if you're a new listener to Whispering Loudly, you may have missed our last episode with Ed. So Ed, can you give us just a quick rundown on Podium itself and what it makes possible for auto repair shop owners?
100%. So Rachael, Podium is about making your business textable, and why that's important these days is consumers have moved on, they've evolved. You know, the technologies available to us and that are in our pockets and in the palms of our hands have changed the way we want to interact with businesses, changed the way we find businesses. People don't pick up the yellow pages and start flicking through to find the next place they're going to get their car serviced like they used to. They pick up their phone. And they go to Google and they start searching. And, you know, over 90% of search here in Australia starts on Google, and how you show up there matters. It's the modern evolution of your word of mouth reputation. And that evolution is super important to keep up with. And you might be thinking, you mentioned before, making your business textable, and how does this all make sense with Google search and so on? Well, getting a Google review or driving your online reputation, starting a conversation with someone finding you online, the thing that those things can have in common is text messaging. And text message can facilitate those outcomes more conveniently and faster than other communications channels available to us today. So Podium, it's about making your business textable and about making it easier to drive the interactions that you need to have with your customers to be successful and to make sure your business runs like a well-oiled machine. But it's all around an inbox that is geared to driving those interactions from a business standpoint, which is very different than texting your customers off your own personal mobile device or driving that from a workshop management software with one-way text messaging. This is text messaging that is personal, it is interactive, and it is designed for a business. And specifically, Podium was born out of a workshop in the United States, and it's really well geared to the needs of an automotive workshop. So it's an exciting tool to be introducing to the market here in Australia.
So Podium's customer base in Australia and indeed globally has grown significantly over the past 2 years, even though we've been going through this, you know, really challenging period that will go down in history as the COVID era. You know, what's going on out there to make this a growth period in this area?
Well, I guess firstly, it's, you know, COVID has accelerated the rate of change that we're already seeing in customers and how consumers were behaving. You know, contactless experiences have never been more relevant today than they ever were, right? And that is something that can be facilitated through a tool like Podium and text message. So Podium has, been very fortunate to to be well placed, through this last few years. And we're very, very lucky and appreciative of all the businesses that have jumped on and throughout this time. And they've seen awesome results, and they've been able to deliver new experiences to their customers that they hadn't envisioned and thought of being relevant before. And, it's been a useful time to take a step back and look at how are the expectations of my customers changing, because when we see such an event as COVID, your customers, their expectations have changed. And, that's what we've seen. And the businesses who are taking a step back and looking for that, looking at how this is, changing people's search behaviours. People can't go out as much. So, more of that, they've got more time than ever before to search online. And this is a really powerful time to leverage, take a step back and look at the tools and the processes and the systems you use in your business, and ask yourself the question: what are my customers gonna want when we open back up? It's about controlling the controllables. And one thing that you can control is how you show up online compared to your competition. Another thing you can control is how you communicate with your customers. Is that going to be in person, or are you easily able to pivot to that COVID safe way of servicing your customers? And look, these are some things that Podium can bring real value to, ultimately taking your business to that next step and through that next evolution.
It sounds like there's a real almost collision of coming of age of certain technology and the necessity that COVID has brought about. And it's really to the advantage of the auto repair shop owner that Podium is where it is in its business life cycle here in Australia, certainly. So we're lucky that Podium is there in the market for us to take advantage of. I know at the Workshop Whisperer, we were obviously well placed, already being an online coaching service when COVID came along, but we too have been able to embrace the advances in technology that Podium presents us with as a company. So I totally understand what you're talking about there in terms of being able to grab hold of the technology and put it to best use at this time.
Avoid mistakes others are making and take your auto repair shop to the next level. To reach out, email admin@workshopwhisperer.com with the subject Workshop Whispers, and we'll answer your question in our next Workshop Whispers episode.
Talking about lockdowns and things like that, there's obviously some uncertainty around what the climate will look like when we eventually come out of all of this mess. What do you think is some advice you'd give to shop owners, as we emerge into a post-COVID world?
One of the most impactful pieces of advice that I heard recently was from a very well-renowned business coach here in Australia who works in the real estate space. And that was never waste a crisis. Never waste a crisis. And, whether it be, your revenues have slowed down and, your business isn't where it wants to be, don't just believe that there's so much uncertainty that you've got to sit back and you've got to do nothing. There are things that you can control, and there are steps that you can take to make sure that when things do open up, your business is going to be best placed to succeed. And I'm not saying that the answer is simply to buy Podium if you're fully shut down, right? I don't want this to be a heartless sales pitch, because it's not, but use this time wisely. Rachel, you talk a lot around taking stock of, the systems and the processes, mapping everything out. Get visibility over, where you can improve, and, understanding where customers are going to want to go next. How are people going to want to interact with me? Where is their attention going to be? And, after all of these lockdowns, and we've seen this happen exponentially over the past couple of years, people are more engaged digitally than they ever have been before. The majority of search happens from a mobile. It's happening on Google. People want to text businesses. You've got to be textable. These are things that consumers are screaming out for. So understand how they can apply and fit into and support the many, many systems and processes that you have in your business, whether that be all the people who call you on the phone. How is text relevant to that? Marketing, service reminders, upsell opportunities. What are other lines of business that I have available to me but I'm not fully utilizing? A lot of workshop owners, I'm busy, I don't need more business. Well, is your shop filled with the right type of business? Because I guarantee you there's 5 other shops in your competitive area who are also doing really profitable business who could be coming through your store, and you've got customers coming to you which are not going to be as profitable. So understanding how all of these processes and systems available, all these technologies available, be it Podium or any other technology out there, how they can support your business. Because you're not going to have this time forever. Use it wisely. And, looking at how your online reputation compares to other people. Are you satisfied with it? You don't want an online reputation, equivalent to turning up to your daughter's wedding with a bit of tomato sauce, down the front of your suit. It looks scruffy, right? You want to make sure you're putting the best foot forward always. So take stock, never waste a crisis, and look at what customers are going to want next, because it is changing. There's not as much uncertainty out there as people talk about these days. There's only so much as you let there be. Take the reins, take control. I'm sounding like a bit of a motivational speaker now, Rachel.
Oh, you're doing a great job. Absolutely. No, it's great advice, and it's so true. So some of you listening to the podcast today will be needing a little motivational advice because of the tough times. So Ed, keep the motivation coming. How important is it to be constantly replenishing your customer base, even in times like now?
Your customer base, you might like to think so that they are loyal to you, but they're not as loyal as you think. Secondly to that, there's going to be attrition within your customer base, whether you like it or not. People moving in and out of the area, people dying, it happens. There is a natural attrition, whether you're the best workshop in the world. Part of your customer base is going to churn, so you want to make sure you're always topping that up.
Yeah, so we know that industry benchmark is 18% a year, natural attrition.
And that's huge. 18% of your customers not coming back. And I feel like I harp on about Google reviews, but they're really nothing that we don't know already works for us. It's word of mouth, just amplified and front of mind in that modern journey that today's customers are taking. And it's so important, because that is the reason why somebody will choose you over your competition. And look, people have expertise. And there are many cases where people are going to go to that person over that person. But generally speaking, when a consumer sees 5 stars and hundreds of reviews versus 3.9 stars and a handful of reviews, it's an easy decision for them to make. And giving yourselves the best chance in those early stages of the customer journey. So people, because when people move out of the areas, people still have to move into it, right? So you've got to make sure that for people who maybe don't know how great you guys are and the services you provide, and that level of reputation you have in the marketplace, you got to make sure they can find out somehow. And Google reviews really is that. And one of the key inflection points for many other mediums of marketing as well, whether it be radio or online advertising, ultimately it might result in somebody Googling you and picking up the phone to call you. And those are journeys that Google reviews show in. So if you're investing heavily in these other elements, make sure your Google reviews aren't working against you. They're one of the things that can go a long way to topping up that capacity, that 18% that we're going to see in any case, because that can be a huge barrier for growth. And if you're spending a ton of money on marketing to simply keep your head above water and to keep that customer base at that same level year on year, Google reviews can really help do that quite efficiently.
Join our free Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, and join in on the conversation with auto repair shop owners just like you globally.
For those of you out there already have discovered the benefits of Podium, and maybe there are some of you out there where this is the first time you've heard of Podium, Ed, what can you tell us about what you've got running at the moment in terms of COVID relief and also new features?
Yeah, so there's 2 things that we're really excited about here in the market, and we've got them a couple of months behind the United States, but they're finally here, which is huge. Firstly, the Podium Campaigns tool, which is a text marketing tool, and it's text marketing with a difference. Now, we've all had a marketing text message, which is impersonal, right? It feels en masse, and they're not engaging, but they have the cut through. And that's why text is so powerful. So what we want to do is take that one step further and make it personal. Enable your customers to respond directly to that. So it's tied and integrated all into Podium's two-way text communication system, which means you can put together and run hyper-personalized SMS campaigns that people can actually directly respond and engage with, which is huge. Secondly to that is the Podium voice solution. You get a ton of phone calls. Making sure text is that fallback, it's a goldmine. Missing calls, after hours, enabling yourself, your business to take those phone calls to text message is huge and can be a huge source of leads that you're already getting in, but may otherwise you not be getting back to them fast enough, and they're calling the next shop. So those are two solutions that we're super excited about. But with COVID relief, we're offering these solutions free for a period of the next few months, which is just huge, which is putting some tools in the hands of existing Podium users, might I add, as well. This should have been made available to you, and also new Podium users. A tool to actually go out and text your customers and get some business through the door, and has proven to be hugely successful for those shops who have taken advantage of that. They're getting that data in there, getting those personalized messages out, and they're getting a great response from their customers. So we're hugely excited to be able to offer that. It's the first time we've ever offered any free Podium products globally, but we're super excited about that.
Everybody loves a bit of free, but in terms of what we're talking about here, the value I think that is included with those two features is enormous. So I know even for us, just yesterday, we received a text through from our Podium voicemail, which we otherwise would not, it would have gone unanswered, which was, it made us all go, oh yeah, that's, super valuable that we were able to still connect with the inquiry in that way.
And look, it's not necessarily going to be that 100 phone calls a day, 100 texts a day, but, when you aggregate those tiny impacts over a week, over a month, over a year, the impact to your business and your bottom line is huge. I was always told, count your pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. And the same goes for so many aspects of your business. Look at all the small impacts and how they aggregate to ultimately that big impact that you want to see on the bottom line.
Ed, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing part of your day with us here on Whispering Loudly, and thank you to Podium being such a great partner with the Workshop Whisperer.
It's an absolute pleasure once again, Rachel. We will speak soon.
We will indeed. And if you are not yet a member of our free Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, make sure you jump over to Facebook and join us today. Inside Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, we have best practice sharing happening from auto repair shop owners just like you from all around Australia, New Zealand and the USA, Canada and the UK. So it's truly a global group these days, and everyone is just like you. They want more profitable business and a better lifestyle. So jump in there and see what you can learn about growing your auto repair shop. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple with Rachael Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk and gold sponsor Podium.